Hello and welcome to the Reflecting Light Show. I am your host, April Rodgers, and I am so thankful that you are here. We have a wonderful show in store. We have DeRon Talley. He is the owner of Key Marketing Solutions, and he is also the pastor of St. Joseph Missionary Baptist Church. You have a resume a mile long. I cannot wait to jump in with you. Welcome.
Thank you so much. So excited to be here and to just explore this light that you have. I'm excited.
I know it. The light is marvelous, is it not?
Yes.
You know, like there's so many ways that I've studied light and how it comes in and it dispels the darkness.
Yes.
It gives us warmth. It provides hope. There's so much that has to do with light. So welcome to the show. You are a podcaster as well, so you've been dabbling in that a little bit.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. With Louisiana Catalyst here in Monroe, we're rolling out some episodes here shortly this fall, but we've been learning the process of the equipment and just how to do it right, the great content. So
it's a lot. It is. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, again, grew up in South Louisiana in a small town called Folsom, Louisiana. Our big city is Covington, which the big city to that is New Orleans. And so I could take my small town highway that had one stoplight and just drop south. And within 40 minutes, I'd be in the heart of New Orleans. And so to go from a one stoplight small town to Covington that has a 5A school, but then 20 more miles you're into New Orleans, we grew up with access to kind of everything. Not too far from anything, but still had a country life, but understood what city life looked like also. So a lot of my roots vary in terms of what I saw growing up and what I was exposed to. Grew up in the church as a drummer, 10 years old. My mom bought me a drum set for Christmas. Next thing you know, we were throwing that bad boy in the back seat of the Pathfinder that she had. And we were taking it to church every Sunday, and that's how my church got its first set of drums. And I was pretty much like the first drummer at my church and did that all the way through high school as a drummer. But as close as I grew into that role as a musician, as a drummer, I was still introduced and being exposed all the while to the opposite ends, right? In school and with friends. And so again, just growing up, I think in that area, nothing was like, oh, you should never do that. It was kind of like, oh, it's all inclusive, you know?
Right.
You can be a drummer, but you can also be an athlete, but you can also like to dance. And if you happen to get introduced to drinking alcohol at 10, 12 years old, you know, that's cool too, you know?
Anything goes.
It was just kind of anything goes. My parents, you know, I have an older brother and a younger brother. My younger brother is 8 years younger than I am. My older brother and I are much closer. He's about 2 years older than I am. So we were best friends and best enemies growing up. But then we really bonded over raising up our younger brother. And our parents never really had a strict anything on us. They kind of let us figure out what we like, what we were interested in, and they supported it, or we would either coach us away from it if they could. But just that dynamic of an interesting family. And then, you know, my dad went to jail when I was in 3rd grade. And so that changed the dynamic again of the household. Grew up, you know, first, 8 or 9 years of my life with both parents in the house, and then dad goes away into jail for a significant time. And so it's me, my older brother, and my newborn baby brother. During that time.
So you really kind of probably had to step up and be the man of the house with your older brother. And
my older brother, he took to cooking. I wasn't much of a cooker. He could scramble eggs and do all that stuff while mom was working many jobs. She worked in education. So then she'd roll into the summer months, work in summer school, and then any office cleaning jobs in the evenings. And so it was just kind of us 3 boys kind of figuring it out at home. But we never really made bad decisions other than fighting each other. And then we get, exposed to, some worldly things or whatnot. But we took care of mom for sure.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, so I know your wife, Patience. She and I served on the Women's Symposium Board at University of Louisiana at Monroe. She is a beautiful woman, and so I was talking to her, and she was like, DeRon has a story. So let's hear part about your story about you were telling me a little bit about it, about how you were just going to get on out of here.
Yeah, just, after college, I graduated ULM in 2012, and that final semester going into that May, I was just of the mindset, I'm going. I just got to get away.
out.
There's nothing in Monroe for me. There's nothing in Louisiana for me. I'm going overseas.
Yeah.
I'm going backpack Europe. My degree is in mass communication. I'm going backpack. If I can become a backpack journalist and just document and blog my travels, that's what I'm going to do. And I booked me a plane ticket for July 4th, 2012 to fly out of Miami. Me and my mom and my younger brother, we stayed for like 3 or 4 days in Miami as a farewell. I think my dad probably was back in jail again at that time. My older brother may have been in jail or somewhere, but it was just the 3 of us, my mom, myself, my younger brother, that week going into July 4 to fly out of Miami.
You're going to get
that
your
entire
independence.
this is DeRon's Independence Day. But that entire time leading up to that, curveballs began coming along my way, such as meeting patients.
Yeah.
There was nothing holding me to Monroe, nothing holding me to Louisiana other than my mom, and just family. And so I was like, yeah, I can go. Y'all be fine. I moved out at 18, never really lived back with mom, even when I'd go home for summer breaks, winter breaks. So I was somewhere else, so it's like, I don't have to go home,
Yeah.
But met patients like 3 weeks before graduation. Never intended for anything to be serious there, but in 2 months, I guess we fell in love,
Yeah.
And just that right there began to kind of just create opportunities for me to want to stay. Yeah. And so when July 4 comes, I actually board the plane. I leave. I have a connect flight in Venezuela that would bring me ultimately to Canary Islands. But when I leave Miami and get to Venezuela, I don't know my appearance, whatever, but as soon as I get off, Venezuelan customs, they bring their dogs. They think I'm smuggling drugs.
What?
And so I'm literally stuck in Venezuelan airport for 3 or 4 days. The cash that I had, the US dollar that I had, I turned into bolivares, which is their form of currency there. I still have some because after sleeping in the airport there 3 days, I ate some Church's chicken. They had a Church's chicken in their airport. Did not taste the same.
God.
Did not taste the same at all. At all. Didn't even look the same. I don't know what kind of grease they fry the chicken in. Didn't even look the same. But during that time, I'm on FaceTime a lot with patients. And while I'm sleeping in the airport, she would literally be on FaceTime with me while I'm sleeping in the airport with my bags because they pretty much just rough me up. I don't trust, anything. I never left the airport. I did have a minor in Spanish, so I could communicate very minimally with the Spanish speakers there to understand enough that they are pretty much just giving me a hard time to be giving me a hard time,
Right.
And I pretty much had an option to stay there or either fly back to U.S., but they were not going to allow me to continue my flight to the Canary Islands. And so I get on the phone with my dad, and it's like, I guess I'm coming back to the States. And I said, but I told my dad then, I said, but I'm still not coming back home,
Yeah.
And so I fly back into Miami, and I meet a Haitian in the Miami airport. He worked in one of the stores at the airport, and I kind of was just hanging around the airport, like, I'm not going to buy a flight to Louisiana. I'm not going to buy a flight to Louisiana. I'm going to just kind of walk around here. I slept in Venezuelan airport for 3 or 4 days. I'm going to just kind of hang out here. I was that lost. I was in that dark of a place, I guess, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I'm a college graduate. Had my plan. My plan's been busted up. Pride is a factor. Ego is a factor. And it's like, I'm not going back to my mom's house. I'm not going back. And I meet this Haitian at the airport and, just get to talking to him. And he's like, man, if you want to try it in Miami, you can come stay at my apartment. Okay. I mean, a random Haitian, never seen the man in my life. And when he clocked off work, I was sitting there. He came, he said, I'm off work, took my bags, got in his little Mitsubishi SUV, and we drove to Little Haiti in Miami. And I stayed there for about 10 days in Little Haiti, Miami. Went to church in Little Haiti, where they were speaking French and worshiping. I could feel the spirit there, and I could, couldn't understand anything, but I could sense the spirit was there. And that was how I started really realizing that, wow, of all the things that I'm going through right now, God is still here. And the second curveball leading up into all of this, so the first one was meeting patients. Once I graduated ULM, I think it was May 15th. May 18th, I go home to New Orleans to party with my friends, right? Some friends came up to Monroe to party here that Saturday, but then the bulk of everybody I know is still down south, so we're partying in New Orleans. It's a Monday night. We go to the casino and we're partying it up. And the next thing I know, I wake up parked perpendicular on train tracks in New Orleans, and woke up with cops surrounded me.
Yeah.
Guess I got drunk, got drugged, whatever the case was. All of my friends and buddies, homeboys, homies, road dogs that supposedly was there with me. When I woke up, they weren't there. I was parked perpendicular as a cross on train tracks with police surrounding me. I did not get arrested. The police, as a matter of fact, they helped me get my car towed off of the train tracks. I had 2 flat tires. I don't know how I parked on it, but it blew out 2 of my flat tires. They helped me change one, and then I was finally able to get in touch with another buddy to bring in one of his spare tires. And I drove to his house, slept on that couch, and I never seen that guy again.
Wow.
You know? And so those 2 curveballs leading up to first is finding love, first is finding out who my real friends were, and what buddies were and what homies were, and then, but still being all the while, I'm going to be independent. I don't need anybody, you know? And when now I'm in this, for probably the first time this whole time, going to church in a language that I don't understand. My entire summer plan is just being busted up before my eyes. I'm losing the little college money that I got from family and friends out the wazoo because making bad decisions, had to buy tires and this and that, and they pretty much robbed me at the Venezuelan airport, so I'm just losing money, running up my cell phone bill, because back then, you know, the FaceTime and data and all that stuff was just a different animal.
Right.
And so I think I had like $1,000 cell phone bill. But all the while, God was there. And all the while, even when I couldn't trace him, and now my pastor tells you got to trust God even when you can't trace him. Even when I don't know where he was taking me, even though I didn't know why my plan. I had a plan. I was prepared. I saved my money and I bought my tickets and I did all the things right. Why is this happening? Well, I'm not going back home, and just kept falling into darkness. But God continued to just show me remnants of hope, continued to show me the light, I guess, throughout it all. And I just, from that moment, going to that Haitian church with that stranger is when I began to really realize that, God, you are everywhere, no matter where I am. And it's not just a physical location. It's no matter where I am mentally, no matter where I am emotionally, spiritually, you are here.
Yeah.
And that's some of the things I share with people these days.
That reminds me of that scripture that David wrote, where if I make my bed in the depths, you are there. I mean, it's true. He is still there with us, surrounding us, just wanting us to make wise decisions. He gives us free will, and we can go off and we can make poor decisions. But still, I could see that hand of protection that he had over you every bit of the way. And it looks like, of course, now hindsight's 2020, and your wife is a beautiful woman. I can see why you were so attracted and wanted to bring yourself back around to that area. But there's more to the story, and we're going to get deeper into that, but first we're going to take just a short break.
Okay.
We would like to thank today's sponsor of the Reflecting Light Show, Key Marketing Solutions. Key Marketing Solutions is your key to getting found online and unlocking your business's full potential. Their promise is to help your business reach its goals through marketing consulting services, brand and digital media management, and website development. Visit Key Marketing Solutions at www.patienceIsKey.co. Welcome back to the Reflecting Light Show. We are here with DeRon Talley, and we are talking about trusting God, even when you can't see Him.
That's right.
Even when you can't see His hand, but you just trusting that his ways are higher than our ways and his thoughts are higher than our thoughts. And so tell us a little bit more of the story, because I'm so intrigued to know. Okay, you were down in New Orleans, you wake up, you have the cops surrounding you, you get yourself out of that situation, and now you're trying to get yourself back on track. And that light is systematically kind of coming in to your situation. But I'm sure that there were some hard decisions that you had to make too.
Oh, certainly, certainly. And one of the hardest decisions or things that I went through during that time is while I'm dealing with the New Orleans situation on the crossroads of a train track, I never told my parents.
Yeah.
I could never tell them that, hey, 2 days after college, I pretty much tried to throw it all away. You know,
Right.
even though I have this plan to leave the country and there's nothing here for me anyway, I could never come to terms with saying, Mom, Dad, I made a decision that could have literally cost me my life, cost me my freedom,
Sure.
after I just done something that you all were so proud of because of alcohol or because of marijuana, because of maybe something else that one of the homies put in my drink. I don't even know. I had never blacked out. You know, in all the years of drinking and drugging, I have never been in a situation where I didn't know where I was or why I was there. And so I can never come to terms. I don't think I told my mom directly. I think it wasn't until later in life, after I started preaching and pastoring and teaching, that in testimony I shared it, and she happened to be there.
Like, oh, by the way.
And you know, and after she was like, boy, you something. You know, it's just kind of one of those things. You know, but you know, the prayers of our parents and our grandparents, those, you know, the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous, they avail it much, even when we aren't praying for ourselves, even when we aren't putting ourselves in position to be protected by God. It's those prayers that have kept us, and it's those things that make the Romans 8:28 still work for us. All good things come out of anything that we go through. All we have to still do is love God. Even though I wasn't faithful, committed in my relationship with God, I still honored God. I loved God and believed in God and in His Word. Just wasn't faithful and committed.
There's a distinction. There's a difference there. Yeah.
Certainly. And so that still acknowledgement of who God is, I think, carried me even when I, if you will, stepped out of the desire to be carried by God, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, that's good.
And so as I'm in Miami and Little Haiti, that first encounter now with the Holy Spirit let me feel God again.
Good.
You know, and just kind of let me know that even if you can't understand what these people are saying, you hear me. Even if you don't know where you are, you know that I'm here. And it was those pieces there that kind of gave me hope to not give up. And so from there is when I began actually putting in job applications anywhere and everywhere. This whole time I had never applied for a job in the States because I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, right.
Not going to be here. I'm not applying for a newspaper job. I'm not applying for I'm not going to be here. Just that level of, you know, stubbornness and ego and pride. I'm DeRon. I'm figure it out. When I get there, it's never even applied. My college professor, DeRon, you're a good writer, man. At least just throw your name in the hat. Here's a copy editing job. Just, no, I'm not going to be here. Why would I do that? I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in Little Haiti is when I started putting in applications. And then this is when God just said, no, it's not your way anymore, because I literally was putting together resumes, April, that I'm a high school dropout, just trying to push buggies at Winn-Dixie. Yeah. Couldn't get the job. Some college experience, just want to be a sales rep at a retail outlet. Nope, couldn't get the job. Then actually, of course, applying for newspapers and journalism position, couldn't get a job. I'm talking about every newspaper in Louisiana, in Miami, and then my uncle. So everything wasn't perfect in Little Haiti. So the guy was very welcoming and very welcoming. It came to a scenario where, you know, I guess after being there, I was there about 8-9 days or so, and I hadn't given him any money. I hadn't done anything besides sit in this guy's house, and I would leave throughout the day and walk the streets and just kind of figure out my way around Miami and Little Haiti. And then I guess one evening he comes in and he tries to, you know, do you watch pornography? And I was like, oh no, man, it's not that type of party with me, man.
Yeah.
And no, man, it's like no.
Yeah.
You know, and so that night I slept on this couch. I slept on this couch the whole time, but went in the kitchen, got me a knife, and I was like, all right, if you come up here and try and pour something, then
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be me or you, and it ain't gonna be me, you know. And then that next morning, you know, I talked to my mom. She calls her brother in San Antonio, my uncle, and my uncle was like, nah, Neff, get on the plane. You come to San Antonio.
Yeah.
And so I
So the
leave.
Holy Spirit pretty much just pushed you out of that.
There's no other way I was gonna, me in the way of me was always gonna be there. And so one of the things I talk about nowadays is always that uncomfort. You know, it wasn't until I got uncomfortable that I was willing to move. And so you know, in order to grow, you got to be uncomfortable.
That's so
as long as I was comfortable, he was just letting me chill on his couch and walk the streets and come and go. I was comfortable. So yeah, I finally started applying for jobs, but I didn't really have a sense of urgency to just, I was comfortable. And so the Holy Spirit, God in his infinite sovereign way said, okay, I can make you uncomfortable here.
Right.
This isn't where you're supposed to be. I can make you uncomfortable. You're not going to like it. Yeah. And he did. And I got uncomfortable and I got on a plane.
Right.
and got to San Antonio with my uncle who, you know, brought me back to church. He's a pastor, brought me back into the church, and I started, you know, just taking out the trash for his church, taking it to the dumpster, and just started doing things like that. And again, just working in the church, grew up in the church, played the drums in the church. Yeah. But here, just serving in a different capacity, doing community cleanups. All the while, he's showing me how to write good resumes. Still couldn't get a job. Yeah. Still couldn't, we're applying for all kind of stuff. And then Uncle, one of his friends worked in the fire station. He was like, well, push come to shove, you can work for San Antonio Fire Department, you know? Yeah. And so I began studying to take the test to become a firefighter in San Antonio. But then there's this young girl in Monroe who's now living in Baton Rouge named Patience Phillips. Yeah. That's like, hey, it's time for me to go to school, but my family has a beach trip in Florida. We want you to come, you know, it'd be good to see you. I hadn't seen Patience probably since June or so. And so it was my opportunity to see her again. And when I went to that beach trip with Florida and to move her into LSU, I never returned back to San Antonio. Yeah. I stayed there with her in her apartment in Baton Rouge, still applying for jobs everywhere, and started slinging wax is what I call it. Yeah. During that time, I don't know how I found this company, but it's car wash in a can. You could spray this stuff on your car and wipe it, and it'll clean your car. And that's what I was doing, walking up to people at gas stations and saying, hey, let me show you something. I'd spray the car. They had trained to just spray their car. And once you spray their car, they'll see how it works. And that was dangerous and risky all in itself. Touching people's vehicle, walking up to them at gas station pumps. And so had to get uncomfortable there because in there, one of the guys, you know, reintroduces me to weed and all that stuff. Next thing you know, we're smoking on the job. And you know, the managers and stuff were like, man, you know, y'all can't do that. And I'm like, well, I'm riding with your guy. He's training me, you know. I thought this was part of the culture here, you know. And so end up losing that job. And so I'm back to absolutely nothing. Wow. But then I get a phone call from Donaldsonville, Louisiana, Donaldsonville Chief Newspaper. And it's the current editor. And she had met me at the Louisiana Press Association Awards that I had went to as a ULM student with the ULM Hawkeye. And she said, hey, young man, I remember you. You're impressive. You won some awards. I'm actually resigning my position. I would love for you to come take my spot. 22 years old, couldn't get a job pushing buggies at Winn-Dixie, couldn't get a job selling clothes at Marshall's. You know, studying now to be a firefighter, but I've abandoned my uncle to be with Patience Phillips in Baton Rouge. And now all of a sudden I get an offer to not just be a newspaper writer, a reporter, or photographer, or sports writer, but to be the editor of a small town newspaper, a weekly newspaper, 6 months after graduation. And that began the moment of me saying, wow. God is real. And not again, I never said God wasn't real. I never denied or doubted what he was able to do. I just thought that it was going to be me figuring it out on my own. And when God is paving your way, you know, all you have to do is find it and follow him, you know. I now tell people, you know, God is never lost. When we say, oh, I found God, or I had to find Christ. He was never misplaced.
Right.
He was never mislocated. You were.
Exactly.
You are the one out of position, out of place. And so when I found my proper positioning in my proper place is when I began to find who I was supposed to become,
That's so good.
And so, and that was all in 2012 from May to
when you
October.
said 6 months, I was like,
6
that all
months.
happened
All
in
that
6
happened
months.
in 6 months.
That is wild.
Of finding out who my friends were, of, once I got that job, never smoking marijuana again. Never had an issue with, I'm withdrawing. When I became official, I put down those illegal activities, those bad, circles of friends. Like I said, some of those I've never seen, never even ran into at a grocery store. Never even just, oh, that's so-and-so in the I hadn't seen. Like God will, anything that's not for you, He will literally, the Bible talks about in John 15 how He's the husbandman of the vine. Like He will cut that vine away, and when you grow back, those old things can't grow with you. They can't come with you. And it's just amazing. It's 10 years, and it's 2022. And so my memory is fresh on all this because I just recently went back to San Antonio. The same uncle now has stage 4 cancer. And so we went a couple weeks ago to see him. And we talked about 10 years ago, Unc. I was so lost. I was in such a dark place. I didn't have anything. Now, Uncle, I have a wife. I have 2 beautiful children. I own a company. I pastor. And it's because of the seeds that you helped me plant 10 years ago, and just seeing how good God is able to take you in 10 years is just amazing.
That is absolutely beautiful. And it reminds me of the prodigal son story. And it's almost parallel where you just had to go out and reach that very bottom. And then as you were coming home, that father was there waiting for you and has given you more than you could even ask or imagine. And hearing you just kind of tie it all up and the fact that it has been 10 years and what all blessings He has just rained down upon you. And you were talking about your 2 kids. And I know your daughter, she is absolutely precious. And then you have a 4-month-old son. And that is the hand of the Lord too.
Yes, Lord.
That's just that provision. And from you actually repenting and turning away from that lifestyle and saying, okay, I'm all in, then He's blessed you abundantly. And that's beautiful to behold.
Yeah, certainly, getting in that valley, seeing how dark it was, but still knowing that as dark as that valley was for me, I wasn't by myself. Patience was there in the background all the while on FaceTime, on text message, whatever, encouraging and praying. My mom, my grandparent were there, and of course God all the while, and through them, giving them the proper things to say and just the opportunities of hope that they'd be able to show and share with me during that time. Because, from a pride and ego and, I'm from Folsom, Louisiana, and I made it out, that just,
and then
and then it's like, okay, do you know what that means?
And you're a pastor at a missionary church.
Yes.
I love that. Patience was right. You did, and you do have a story, and God is still writing your story, and He's still producing that inside of you. So thank you for sharing that with me and with my listeners, because I really think it's going to touch a lot of people, and that they're going to be able to, if they are in a similar situation where they're feeling lost and hopeless, and maybe that pride is keeping them from returning back to where God has them, then maybe they will start to grab a hold of the light and that hope, and they'll take a step, and then another step, and another step, and trust Him. Exactly what you said. It's all about trust. It's that trust walk that we take each and every day, and we've got to keep on doing it.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I can't believe it, but our time has come to an end. But before we go, let's make it a little bit lighter in here, and let's talk about one thing that is lightening your load these days.
It's my children.
Yes.
Just those, Demi is 4 and is just a character.
Yes.
And my son now, just seeing his growth, going home, or even when I'm not home, looking through the photos of things that we do on a day-to-day basis, I wake up every day and just know that I'm blessed, know that God has done special things in my life and is continuing to do it. And to just be able to wake up and know that my children are happy and secure in their skin, in themselves already at the ages that they are. I can see the confidence, the bravery, the boldness, and I just thank God for it. And there's nothing that can make me feel that I can't do because I know I have them. If God gave me them as perfect as they are, what can't God give me? What can't God do for me? And that's my wife and I may need to come back and just talk about what we've gone through in having children, and so appreciating that gift of life that we're able to create has just been an added blessing and appreciation to what God is able to do in our lives.
Well, we're going to do that for sure.
Yes, indeed.
That would be a blessing. All right. Well, thank you, DeRon. I really appreciate you and your time today. I know it's going to touch a lot of people.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you for tuning in to the Reflecting Light Show. We pray you got some hope and some light out of today's episode. And if you did, please subscribe to the show and also share with a friend who may need the light of Jesus Christ in his or her life. If you haven't gotten your copy of Made to Shine, you can do so by going to aprilrodgers.com. Go out and have a great week and be the light.